Hi. This is my third installment on my favorite biblical contradictions. I'll have one more after this one. Number one, Yahweh commands animal sacrifice, but he does not. Make for me an altar of earth, offering on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. These are the words of the Lord of the armies. Put your burnt offerings with your offerings of peace and take flesh for your food. For I said nothing to your fathers and gave them no orders on the day when I took them out of Egypt about burnt offerings or offerings of peace. Well, I don't know about the exact day that Yahweh took them out of Egypt, but on some day, he most definitely commanded animal sacrifices. So pretending here that he said nothing about it is certainly disingenuous. Number two, Yahweh commands that all witches, wizards, and necromancers be driven out or put to death because, these people actually exist, witches and wizards. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. A man, also a woman, that has a familiar spirit or is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone him with stones, their blood will be upon them. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard or necromancer, for all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. Yet Moses and Aaron were wizards who turned a staff into a snake, turned water into blood, brought water out of a rock, and parted the sea, among other acts of wizardry. How are the people supposed to differentiate between this good witchcraft and wizardry and the actions performed by the evil wizards who must die? Maybe because Moses told them. That's pretty convenient. By the way, have you ever wondered how the magicians of the Pharaoh in Egypt were able to do magic the same as Moses and Aaron were? I'm sure they weren't as powerful as Yahweh's wizards were, but they did magic. They turned a staff or a rod into a serpent. They turned water to blood. They created frogs all over the place. Where'd they get their magical power? From Satan? If so, it seems to me that Satan's a god. What is God anyway, except somebody who has this kind of power? And why did Yahweh give Satan that kind of power? This isn't making sense, y'all. Number three, Yahweh's not a respecter of persons, but he is. Speak to Aaron, said, whoever of thy seed and their generations has any blemish, let him not approach to offer the bread of God. For whatever man has a blemish, he shall not approach. A blind man, or lame, or if he has a flat nose, or anything superfluous. Or a man with a broken foot, or broken hand, or he's got a crooked back, or he's a dwarf, or if he has a blemish in his eye, or he has scurvy, or a scab, or he has broken stones. Nobody that has a blemish of the seed of Aaron the priest can come nigh to offer the offerings of the Lord. He has a blemish. He shall not come nigh to offer the bread of his God. He can eat the bread, but he can't offer it, because he hath a blemish, that he profane not my sanctuaries. He that is wounded in stones or has his privy member cut off shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation. He can't enter into the congregation of the Lord. I'm sorry, but I would bet that every one of us has a bastard 10 descendants back. 10 ancestors back. And we'll have a bastard 10 descendants down. What's the likelihood that any of us are not going to have that happen? And yet these people have done nothing. Nothing. They could be good people. They can't do it because, hey, their great-great-great-great-grandpa was a bastard. How's that fair? Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons. Talk about adding insult to injury. Yahweh created these poor men, but he's too holy for them to come near him. Remember, this is not about an evil heart. The arrogant, hateful, and selfish people may enter into the Yahweh's presence at will, because Yahweh looks at the outer man, not the inner man. That, of course, is another inconsistency in the Bible and in Yahweh. But let's go on. Number 4. Yahweh doesn't dwell in houses built by men, but he does. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. What are they going to make it? Who's going to make it? I mean, horses, cows. I mean, it can't be made by men. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So Yahweh was in the temple or he wasn't in the temple. I mean, which is it? Number 5, Yahweh puts all rulers in power except that he doesn't. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I didn't know about it. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. Well, that means, Satan got his power from this God too. The powers that be are ordained of God. Poor Yahweh. They put people in power that he didn't want and, didn't even know about, since he's obviously not omniscient. He had no knowledge of what these people were doing behind his back. Number 6, seeking signs is evil, but seeking signs is necessary. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and there won't be a sign given to them, except for the sign of the prophet Jonas. And many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you might have life through his name. Signs help us know Jesus was Yahweh's son, but it's evil to seek a sign so you can know that Jesus is Yahweh's son. And there's only one sign, but there were many signs. These people obviously didn't know what they were saying, or one person didn't know what the other person was saying. And I don't know about the people who put the whole thing together. Number 7, Jesus said Peter would deny him 3 times before the cock crowed, twice. But he also said it would happen before the cock crowed once. So either Mark or Matthew or both made a mistake. Jesus said to him, "Verily I say to you, that this night before the cock crows, you'll deny me 3 times before the cock crows." And Jesus said to him, "Verily I say unto you, this day, even this night, before the cock crows twice, you'll deny me 3 times. But of course he denied and went out on the porch and cock crowed and all that stuff. But Peter was to deny him 3 times before it crowed once. But no, 3 times before it crowed twice. So Peter did this. He's out there cussing and, swearing and denying people, denying Jesus. And I've lost whatever I'm trying to say here. So I'm going to go on. But I should add here, I tried to ad lib. I can't ad lib. Anyway, I should add here that it's hard to determine who witnessed Peter's denials. The list is as follows: damsel, another maid, they that stood by. Maid, they that stood by. Maid, man. Damsel that kept the door. Servants and officers warming themselves. Servant of the high priest. So was it 2 women and a bunch of people? The same maid twice in a crowd? A maid and 2 men? Or a girl, servants, and a servant of the high priest? We'll never know, will we? Number 8. Only Saul of Tarsus fell to the ground when Jesus revealed himself to Saul. However, all those with Saul also fell to the ground. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven, and he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. At midday, O king, I saw on the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking to me. Paul couldn't seem to keep his story straight. Notice that in Acts 9:7, the men with him heard a voice. But in Acts 22:9, the men with him heard not the voice. And I know apologists will squirm around and say the other men heard the voice but simply didn't understand it. But the word's the same in both passages. Now, I suppose, regarding the men's falling down, Christians would say, well, yeah, they stood speechless, but later fell down. Well, that doesn't cut it. The first passage says the others stood speechless, hearing the voice. They're standing up, and they heard the voice. The next passage says that when they had all fallen down, that's when the voice was heard. I mean, this just can't be. I'm sorry. Number 9, we're to love Yahweh completely or perfectly, and also to fear him. Yet we're told that perfect love casts out fear. You love your Lord your God with all your heart and soul, mind, and strength. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear God. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has torment. And if you fear, you're not perfect in love. Now, the word fear in 1 Peter 2:17 is the same word as the word for fear in 1 John 4:18, these two passages that I just talked about. And yes, the word can mean to be frightened, and it can mean to show reverence. It can mean both things. And we might say the context of 1 Peter 2:17 lends itself to the latter meaning, reverence. But Revelation 14:7 says to fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come. Well, obviously it hasn't come yet, but that's just another lie. That sounds ominous. And I'm not like it and it's not like it means, respect or reverence. And Luke 19:21, in a parable that clearly represents Yahweh, the servant was afraid of his master, whom he said reaped where he hadn't sown, and the master slew him. That type of master provokes fear, real fear, not reverence. And it's the type of master Yahweh compared himself to, and we all know he's supposed to come and take vengeance. Number 10, temptation is good, but temptation is bad. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, and lead us not into temptation. But where's my joy if I don't have a lot of temptations? So what is it we should want? We don't want Yahweh to lead us into temptation, but without the temptation, we can't count it all joy. So who should we hope to lead us into a bunch of temptations? Satan? Our friends or families? I mean, it's confusing. And I know these have all been debunked, right? Because they're in the Bible. There's a way to ignore or deny these things. They're just, I don't know, say they're taken out of context, whatever Christians feel the need to say. If they were in the Quran or the Book of Mormon or some other religious book, there'd be contradictions, and Christians would be laughing at them. And we all know it's true. Thank you all. Bye.